Welcome to the Great NoDQ Debate.
Greetings to everyone out there in the NoDQ galaxy. Welcome to the Great NoDQ Debate here on NoDQ.com and the YouTube channel, youtube.com/AaronRiftNoDQ. I am being joined by the Wizard of Osborne, Mr. Stephen Osborne, as well as the Great Virtue, David Southworth. So today's topic will be about Ronda Rousey. A lot of people debate online about her. Does she deserve to be pushed as strongly as she has been since debuting in WWE? Just a couple of months into her run, she has already been in a one-on-one championship match. Is WWE moving too quickly with her? Should she be working her way up the roster? There's a lot of different perspectives on this. So, Stefan, I'll start with you. Do you think Ronda Rousey deserves to be in the spot she's in right now?
Well, I think if you'd have asked me this question at this time yesterday, and for those of you that don't know, we're doing this the day after Money in the Bank. For that time frame before Money in the Bank, before she actually lost, well, she actually won the match by DQ, but she did not get the title. I might have said, no, she doesn't deserve to be where she was. And I think a lot of us were going into Money in the Bank thinking, how are they going to end this match, considering most people don't think she needs to be in a championship match, but you still want her to be strong. But the way they booked that match last night, and the way, if that is going to be the end of this program for the moment, I think, yeah, she deserves just fine to be where she's at.
All right, Virtue.
No. For what she had at WrestleMania in a mixed intergender tag match, yes. Special attraction, yes. The reason why I don't think she deserves to be pushed like she has been already in a title picture is because, is she the draw? Where are the ratings? Is she putting Rock and Austin level type numbers up there? I will never disagree with somebody that is a super mega draw getting pushed. That I get. Business 101. She did her job at WrestleMania. I'm not arguing that. But already getting a title shot against Nia Jax, to me, the traditional part of pro wrestling is working your way up the rankings. Even Roman had to be with the Shield, NXT, with the Shield. He didn't win in 2014 Royal Rumble. And
right.
Of course, we know what happened after that. But, it wasn't super instant.
Yeah. Ronda
Ronda Rousey has this match with Kurt Angle against Stephanie and Triple H at Mania, and she's already had a shot at the Raw Women's Championship. And again, it's her name, UFC legend, got her butt kicked those last two matches. WWE's banking on trying to pull in her fan base to be wrestling fans.
Yeah.
But unless it's Rock, Austin type numbers, I'm sorry, she doesn't deserve this spot. She should be working a program as like Natty's BFF, below the women's champion level right now.
Right. See, I have mixed feelings on it because I think she is a big celebrity and I think she should be utilized. But the question is,
big celebrity. Go ahead, sorry.
Well, same thing with Mike Tyson. Mike Tyson's star had faded after the whole Evander Holyfield ear-biting incident, but Tyson made a huge difference. Now, of course, there is a difference here. Thank you for that. There is a big difference, and that's Ronda Rousey is a regular performer, and some would argue she should be there on a regular basis and get into the mix, but you argue that she should work her way up. However, people consider her to be a world-class athlete, so the question is, does it make sense for her to start at the bottom since she is a big star? I mean, how would you argue this? Do you think that maybe she is in a different world in WWE, and because of that she has to start from scratch? Do you think that, or do you see it a different way?
Well, she has only had one match.
Right.
But if you consider the fact that it was WrestleMania, and most people, I think, maybe we wouldn't agree on this, but I think most people agree that that was one of the better matches, if not the best match on the card, and we were absolutely surprised by how well she did in that match.
Yeah.
So when you consider that being her first match, as opposed to just being a regular Raw match, or maybe she was fed a jobber, she actually went into one of the main events, even though it didn't close the show, one of the main events of WrestleMania, and put on a great match.
Right.
Even though, she was being protected by having the additional people in the match, but it was still a great match. And I think part of the problem is that there is no mid-card title for the women. So if you put her in a title feud, it would be better if even if she hadn't won, it would have been better if it were a mid-card, like you could do with the men. You know, put them in a mid-card feud, give them a mid-card title for a while, build them up, build them into the main event, and then eventually give them a main event shot. In this case, you don't have that mid-card.
Right.
And yes, if they had given her the title at Money in the Bank, it would have been too soon, and this would have been terrible.
I think the fact that she got a title shot at Money in the Bank was too soon, to be honest with you.
And that is the great
Ken
NoDQ
Shamrock.
debate.
I remember him being Intercontinental Champion, and I know we're not.
Hey, that's a really valid point.
Now,
bringing up
Shamrock might have. I can't remember exactly. There was a pay-per-view that year in '98 called Degeneration X in your house, and Shamrock might have got a shot at Michaels for the title. I can't remember, but for the most part, Shamrock was in that mid card. He was a UFC guy, and the WWE came in with the referee gimmick, right?
Yeah.
And then Intercontinental Champion against The Rock. I remember that feud.
Yeah. Now that is a great point. Now, of course, Ken Shamrock wasn't at the stardom level of Ronda Rousey. I mean, let's be clear on that.
And even if he was,
the UFC was not that popular. They had their big explosion in popularity in the mid 2000s, but back then it was still fairly underground. So I would not say Shamrock was a huge celebrity. That's the thing about Ronda Rousey. I mean, you don't feel she's as big of a deal as I'm making her out to be. Would you say that?
You know, she was when she was undefeated, and the WrestleMania spot she had with The Rock, Steph. You know, what was that? 31. You were there.
Yeah, 31.
She was still undefeated then. But like, gosh, her gimmick was beating people up in UFC, and when she lost those last two, I just think the whole working relationship with her and WWE waited a little bit too long. And to me, that's what's deflated her as this megastar.
Well, I think the comparison with her and Shamrock is unfair for both the reason Aaron said, but also because you consider, even if Shamrock was as big of a star as Rousey is when he came in, he was going into a men's division that had The Rock, that had Stone Cold Steve Austin, they had Shawn Michaels, they had Triple H.
Not when he first came in, these guys were all still working their way up. I mean, I guess
you still had your big stars. You had The
Bret
Undertaker,
Hart,
you had Bret Hart, you had guys that were main event that would draw bigger numbers than a UFC guy, even as popular as Shamrock was.
Right.
Ronda Rousey's in a women's division where she came into the division having more eyes on her than any of the women in the division had before she came in.
That's a good point, because I know people that were watching UFC with Ronda Rousey, and they were interested in checking out WWE because of her. I think Ronda is bringing in some new fans, and with this women's revolution. See, I think that's part of it. I think because WWE is on this women's revolution kick, they're pushing Ronda stronger than they would have maybe even a few years ago. You know, maybe a few years ago they would have just brought her in for one match and then moved on. But since she really loves wrestling, and because they're trying to push this revolution, they're making her as big of a deal as possible, which is what WWE does. You know, they promote. They're trying to create larger than life superstars.
I almost wish, and we've talked about this, they would have built her up after the Mania match a little bit slower, instead of, you know, having. And it was weird. Nia, the champion, challenged Ronda as if Ronda was a champion.
It was totally random.
It was as if Ronda was a championship, because it's just weird. I would have liked to see Ronda build her UFC group, like with Shayna Baszler.
Right.
Who's that other girl?
Sonya Deville.
Sonya Deville, and then you have the Four Horsemen. I don't know how they could have done that. I would have rather seen a group feud with Ronda leading one side and Charlotte leading the other.
Or maybe do like an actual storyline to gradually build Ronda, like have her develop a relationship with Nia Jax, but then there's a falling out, and then Nia says, you know what, you got an issue with me, I'll put the title on the line. I don't care if you're a UFC fighter, I'll take you on. The challenge happened on NBC, and to me, that just was so typical WWE trying to... It's lazy, but... Ronda Rousey's They're just looking for a quick, you know, quick headline, basically.
I'll give you this.
Too soon.
It would have been better if they'd have built her up and her character up more before giving her first championship match. It would have been better. But it is WWE. Most things they do could be better. In this case, though, I do think that she is just fine where she's at. I might have been on the fence before Money in the Bank, But knowing that they ended the match the way they did and she did not win the women's championship, I'm just fine with it.
And wrestling-wise, I think she's holding her own. I think she's adapting really well, and at the rate she's going, she could become a great performer in WWE. I think it's more the booking decision of putting this match on without any real thought process. And, you know, we talked about this with Nia Jax, you know, how they booked Nia Jax leading up to the storyline with Ronda Rousey, and, you know, this was something they came up with last minute. So it's not on Ronda. I think she deserves to be there. I think she earned her spot. But what do you guys think out there? Do you agree with Stefan? Do you agree with Virtue? Do you agree with me?
Yeah, I mean, you had all those 8 girls have to, you know, go in a Money in the Bank match to try to win a title shot, and Ronda, because the champion wants to face her, gets that shot. I would have rather seen Ronda in the Money in the Bank match, because we talked about how they only really have 2 people doing something. Ronda could have went to her spot, laid down for a while, got in with Natty or wherever it was going to be easy for her to do spots with, and she could have been in the Money in the Bank match.
And Ronda looked good in that match, so they could have protected Ronda.
Yeah, I don't know.
That would have been interesting.
I would have been fine with
Ronda Rousey in a ladder match. That would have been interesting. I mean, yeah, some might think it's
I guess I'd be
for her.
raging more if she was the champion, but she's not. So.
All right. So leave a comment, guys. Let us know what you think, and leave us some suggestions for future videos. This is Stefan Osborne. This is Virtue. My name is Aaron Rift. Thank you guys for watching. We will see you next time.